A federal court ordered the release of police videos that show Gardena, California officers fatally shooting unarmed Diaz Zeferino and wounding his friend in 2013. The city of Gardena fought to make sure that the dashboard camera footage was not released, but thankfully U.S. District Judge Stephen Wilson, he said there was a public interest in seeing the material and that records should be kept under seal in federal court only in extreme cases. Thankfully, Jose, this wasn't deemed as one of those extreme cases, and we actually got to see the footage and see what happens. Yep. We have it for you. Before I show you guys, and before we get into the debate so we can kind of talk about what happened and you guys can decide for yourselves seeing the video, I kind of want to give you a little bit of backstory. Basically what happened was police officers were responding to a call about a robbery. Someone stole a bike. So they're driving down the street, they see two guys driving on bikes, and they stop them. Now, why they had them put their hands up, why they had the lights shown on them, why they had all these cops come, I'm not sure what happened there. I don't think anyone knows as of now. But one thing is for sure, Diaz Zeferino shows up and says, hey, that's my brother. We didn't steal these bikes, and they actually didn't. They proved that the bikes were not stolen. They say, hey, you put your hands up too. So next thing you know, Diaz has his hands up, and this is what happened. Check out the video. So there you can see clearly the police, in my opinion, were in the wrong. Okay, so he was fidgeting, right? Yeah. They told him to keep his hands up. He clearly didn't. He took his hat off. He was fidgeting. Later, they realized that he did drink some alcohol that night. There was some meth in his system, so they were not sober at all. But at the same time, though, the question now is, why did they want to keep this story under wraps? The city of Gardena, not because they knew the cops were in the wrong. A lot of people are saying, well, actually, they didn't want it to get out because a lot of people just wouldn't understand and they would jump to conclusions and say, well, these are, just another cop murder case. But there's this debate whether, was it the right thing to do because they told him not to move his damn hands, and he did. But in my opinion, if you look, he's just got his hat in his hand. He's not reaching for his waist or anything. I mean, you guys saw the video, but what do you think, Jose?
I mean, the reality is that cops are in a very, very difficult situation. The surfacing of all these videos, some of them very clearly showing police brutality, very clearly showing cops killing innocent people. In this case, the guy indeed, like you mentioned, he's fidgeting, he's moving. I can't really see an intent to reach at all. But the reality is that it's a very stressful situation. These guys are trained. My concern is what happened to shooting to immobilize?
Right.
Why we have this situation where these three kids are supposedly stealing a bike, not a really high-risk situation.
He was shot 8 times. I just want to say that he was shot 8 times
by different officers, not only one officer. So it's really, what is happening that these cops are coming with this level of, or this approach, and instead of looking into a way of diffusing the situation without using deadly force, we see from the video that I don't think there was a threat for 3 officers to feel threatened by one guy kind of fidgeting up and down. One important thing is that, at least here in Los Angeles, there's, for the first time in 12 years, there's an increase in crime. And some are saying that this is because the police morale is really, really low today, because cops feel like they're at risk, they're at liabilities when they are performing their jobs. It might be. It just goes to show that I'm not trying to say cops are they're at fault every time or they're completely not at fault. The reality is this is a very complex issue. Wearing body cams, the fact that these media exist. At the same time, we don't know the situation. What happened before and after this video was released? That's something that the officials and the DAs are reviewing. But if they are wearing these cameras, we will be seeing a lot of cases where we are not really clear of who's in the right and who's in the wrong, and that might be read in the improper way.
Yeah, and I just want to say this is exactly where this differs from Michael Brown and Eric Garner in New York. I mean, he wasn't running away. He didn't have his back to the officers. He didn't have his hands up clearly, but you could see that still he probably shouldn't have been shot. And that's actually this whole case, this video going public has sparked a debate, somewhat of a debate on social media. One guy wrote, as an Aussie, I don't understand why the cops even pulled their guns. Something similar, another person said, why don't they simply walk over and say, hey, you know, we need to talk? That's pretty much how it works everywhere else in the developed world. So I feel like a lot of countries in Europe, in Latin America are kind of looking at the US and kind of saying, well, you know, why are these cops always pulling their guns on people all the time, especially when it's something referring to a bike robbery? I mean, it's just ridiculous. You know, it's just hard to even believe. So, you know, I mentioned Michael Brown, I mentioned Eric Garner, and those two cases, you know, ignited that whole debate of should we have the body cameras on the police?
And really look closely to how police approaches the situation. What are the practices? What is the training that they're going? Do they have any alternative approaches to a situation that might not seem deadly? You know, for them at least. I don't think there was a real threat to the lives of the officers in order for them to unload, you know, maybe not the whole clip, but half a clip each one. 3 guys unloading on a guy who's kind of fidgeting. Yeah,
it's not right.
It's for you to decide how you feel about it.
Yeah, unfortunately, a scene that we see all too often here in this country. The judge could have gone either way. It was close. He could have actually not even released this video at all had he been more sympathetic towards the police. The shooting resulted in a $4.7 million settlement to the relatives, but that doesn't really help much other than financially. We don't know what you guys have to say about all this. Cops shooting this unarmed guy. How it's different from Michael Brown in Missouri, Eric Garner in New York. You tell us in the comments below. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the Lip TV for more.